So, a simple lifestyle is one of many ways to save money, but living simple can often mean different things to different people. For some people, this can mean having no or very little debt or living in a smaller house, and for others, it can mean letting go of stuff that creates clutter and bogs them down. But although cutting back on the amount of possessions we own can have a positive impact on our wallet, this is easier said than done because when you're used to buying and acquiring stuff, and when you see your items every day, sometimes it's hard to know when enough is enough. However, awareness is so important because clutter can affect our finances. So here are a few signs that you might have too much stuff. Number one, you can't remember the last time you decluttered. Now, there are no hard or fast rules on how often to declutter. Personally, I like to do this about every 6 months, where I'll go through my closets and my drawers and I'll look for stuff to get rid of. Now, some people might do this more often, maybe every couple of months, whereas others might declutter once a year. In the end, you have to do what works for you. But if you have absolutely no recollection of the last time you decluttered your house, or if you've never decluttered, that in itself could be a sign that you have too much stuff. We don't use everything forever, so if you're not getting rid of items, you probably have stuff sitting around your house collecting dust. So pick a day and go through your house and get rid of anything that you honestly feel that you'll never use or wear again. Number two, you're buying more storage bins. Take a moment and think about all the storage bins you currently have in your house, and then consider whether you've thought about buying additional bins. And to be abundantly clear, there's nothing wrong with being organized. And storage bins, they are great, especially for those items that you still need but you don't use as often. But before you buy another plastic bin, make sure you declutter first, because there's a good chance that a large percentage of the items you store inside of a bin will be items that you'll never use again. And while we're on the subject of storage bins, you might also have too much stuff if you don't know what's inside your current bins. And if you have a bin that's unlabeled, one thing you can do is play a little game with yourself where you try and guess what's inside before you open it. And then once you do finally look inside, commit to selling or donating any item that you haven't used or even thought about using in years. You might also have too much stuff if you can't park in your garage. Now, obviously, some people don't want to park in their garage, but if you would like this option but can't because the space has become a dumping ground for stuff you don't want to deal with, make this month the month that you finally get rid of the items that you no longer need. I remember seeing this video a while ago, and the person was complaining about organizing their garage every few months because they felt that all they were doing was moving clutter from one end to the other. And then someone kind of chimed in and suggested that instead of always organizing the clutter, why didn't they just make their life easier and get rid of it? And that was a concept that the other person had never really considered, yet it made all the difference. You might also have too much stuff if you have multiple junk drawers. And notice I said multiple, because I do feel that these can serve a useful purpose, because it is nice to have one space where you can store all the little things that you need so that they're not scattered all over the house. However, these drawers can get out of hand fast, and when one fills up, we might start another and another. So if your junk drawer looks like it's been hit by a hurricane, take time and organize it. Go through the items and see what you need to keep and what you can toss. Being overly sentimental with your possessions is another way to quickly end up with too much stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with having attachments to certain items. If your grandmother or maybe your aunt gave you their favorite bracelet or maybe a sweater, obviously this is something you want to keep. But a lot of people are also guilty of sentimental clutter, where they attach a memory or a strong emotion to just about every item they own. And people hold on to stuff for different reasons. Sometimes it's due to trauma or it's a way to remember the past, and that's completely understandable. However, it should not get to the point where this stuff starts to completely take over your space. So if you have a problem with sentimental clutter, I do recommend reading a few blog posts or maybe articles on this topic, because there's a lot of useful information that might be helpful. Another telltale sign that you have too much stuff is that you find things that you forgot you had. I am definitely guilty of this, and I can't even count the number of times that this has happened to me, and I've even bought duplicate items because of it. For the longest time, the closets in my bedroom and my bathroom were so unorganized. I had stuff everywhere, and I would often forget about the items that I had shoved in the back. I once bought a pair of black boots wore them a few times, and then I put them in the box, and then I shoved the box under the bed, and I completely forgot about it. And then the very next fall, I purchased a near identical pair. However, I did not realize my goof until several months later when I was decluttering under my bed. You might also have too much stuff if you don't have a place for new purchases. The last place we lived in was about half the size of our current place, yet it was packed because we would often buy stuff without giving any thought as to where it was going to go. Now that we've pretty much bought everything that we need for this place, before I buy anything new, the first question is, where am I going to put it? Now we mostly buy to replace, so if something comes in, something will usually go out. You might also have too much stuff if you're thinking about moving. Now, obviously, every family, they have to decide for themselves regarding how much space they need or how much space they would like. That's a personal decision. However, I had to include this tip because when some people move, it's not because their house is too small per se, but rather because they have too much stuff and not enough storage space. I've seen this play out on HGTV more times than I can count. There will sometimes be a homeowner looking to buy a house, and their complaint might be that we have too much stuff, it's cluttered, and we just need more square footage. And as the camera pans the house, you can kind of understand where they're coming from because you will see years of accumulated clutter in their garage, in the attic, in the basement. It's spilling out of the closets into the hallway. And in my mind, I'm thinking, unless you're just ready for a change, wouldn't it be cheaper to just get rid of some of the stuff that you already own and free up space in your current home? But that's just my opinion. And finally, you might have too much stuff if you don't feel relaxed at home. Some people don't realize the connection between clutter and their mental well-being. Home is where we should be able to relax and enjoy calmness of mind. However, some studies have found that clutter can make it harder to de-stress because too much stuff in our space can cause sensory overload, which can lead to anxiety in some people. Now, of course, this isn't always the case. There are many people who live in clutter-free homes who still deal with anxiety. However, if you haven't decluttered in a while and you have stuff everywhere and there really isn't any other reason to explain why you don't feel relaxed at home, understand that the problem might be your stuff. And if that is the case, you might feel better once you start removing a few items. So that's all that I have for you guys today. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and also subscribe if you like personal finance and you want to see more videos like this. I typically post every weekend, so thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in a few days.